hey, James, you're the problem. If this doesn't work this year in this system with this team, then you're going to go and point fingers at everybody else, and you're going to go back home and you're going to start swiping right for another team, and there's not going to be anybody left. Because, James, you're not the beard, you're not the system, you're the problem.
Who would have thought that James Harden would sell yet again in the playoffs? Well, me for one, I did. It's become routine for us to see him put great regular season numbers together, but then crumble when it matters most. And that's what we saw last night in Game 7 against the Nuggets. I thought it was going to be a good game, but it turned out to be a blowout 101-120. And part of the reason for that is the two guys who were supposed to be the leaders of the Clippers team got all scared to shoot the ball. Let's start with Kawhi. This man only took 13 shots in an elimination game. Only 13. That doesn't make any sense. He's supposed to be their number one option, right? But if you're the number one option, that means you've got to be taking the majority of the shots. 2019 Kawhi understood that. 6 years ago in Game 7 against the 76ers, that was a game when he hit the shot over Joel Embiid. He shot 39 field goal attempts and finished with 41 points. Now, I understand that he's no longer at the same level that he used to be, but the fact that he couldn't even shoot half of those attempts as he did against Philly is mind-blowing. And we still got people trying to act like he's top 5 who got all excited after he had one real good performance in Game 2.
When healthy, Kawhi Leonard is in the conversation of top 5 player in basketball. He's offensively as good as he is, especially what he did in Game 2. When he gets going, he ain't gonna miss. But then on defensively, he's still the best defensive player on this team.
I don't think there's even a point of trying to argue that Kawhi's a top 5 player when healthy, because he's never healthy. And I'm not one of those people who thinks he's just being lazy. I believe that he's dealt with some legitimate injuries. But in this series, he was fully healthy, and he didn't deliver when he needed to. And people need to stop drooling over the efficiency numbers, because again, he's not shooting the ball enough to the point where I could care. I'd rather his percentage drop like 5 or 6% if he was just increasing the amount of jumpers he took. But don't think I forgot about you, James Harden.
You talking to me? You talking to me?
Tell me why Derrick Jones Jr. shot more shots than James Harden did. Harden managed to only shoot 8 shots and scored 7 points. Couldn't even get into double digits. Not trying to be biased against him, so I gotta mention he had 13 assists, but there's no level of context that explains why he couldn't shoot more shots. I know he likes distributing the ball, but at a certain point, he needs to just get a bucket. Especially when he realizes that Kawhi isn't going to take over, the responsibility naturally falls into his hands. The responsibility of actually showing up in a Game 7 and producing for your team, but he's failed at that time and time again.
James Harden was so awful, so bad, he should actually shave his beard so he could hide his identity. It was that bad, I'm telling you right now, it would be difficult for him to walk the streets. You don't do what you saw him do on Sunday afternoon in a Game 7.
And the idea of his going to Houston, which has been bandied about?
Slim to none. Yeah, listen, first of all, they ain't giving him no max deal. They ain't giving him a major long-term deal. If he went there, it would be for 2 years at best. I can assure you, this performance right here turned a whole bunch of people off.
Yep, that's Stephen A. talking about how Harden choked in, you guessed it, a Game 7. He was playing against the Celtics. It was a must-win game, but he only scored 9 points, 3 for 11 from the field, and had 5 turnovers. In the second half, he pulled the same feat LeBron did against the Timberwolves this year and had 0 points in the second half. But the funniest thing about this whole situation to me was that Harden had 2 40-plus point games earlier in the series in Games 1 and 4, so that showed that he was capable of carrying, just not in a Game 7. He had a bunch of 76ers fans fooled, thinking that these were the types of performances they were going to get, so that starts to take a toll on a franchise's fan base, and as a result, James Harden gets a lot of hate, and after this year, the narrative of him being a playoff choker is never going to end.
No, this is the entire issue with James Harden. He doesn't hit shots in the playoffs when you need him to most. Now, it's not going to be an issue in this series. They're up 3-1. The series is over. They're going to close them out. But I wonder how much of even just the knowledge that Golden State is coming up next affects Harden. Stephen A., we have seen this time and again. James Harden has replaced Peyton Manning in American sports culture as the choker. And by that I mean he can still play very well in the playoffs by normal standards. But Peyton Manning regular season, I think clearly the best ever. Playoffs, different guy. And that has been James Harden's history when the going gets tough in the playoffs. They didn't expose him, didn't shoot that poorly, but even had he, that would be nothing new.
Now watch how Gilbert Arenas explains why Harden always struggles in the playoffs.
It's easier to guard James Harden in the playoffs.
Why?
Because his game is the same as in regular season. So what ends up happening is just over time, I'm letting his bad habits beat him. I can't beat him, his bad habits, which means if he gets comfortable doing something, he's gonna keep doing it. Or he hit 2 threes in a row, he's gonna come down, take 2 heat checks. If he loses the ball, he don't hustle back, right? So if he don't hustle back, he just looks at the ref, boom. So 2 bad shots, 2 turnovers, he didn't get back on, so he didn't gave up 4 points on some easy stuff. That's what's beating James Harden in the playoffs. Is that he hasn't realized there's things you do in the first quarter you can't do in the fourth.
So I thought Gil's perspective on this was pretty interesting. There's something to be said about how teams can adjust and know a player's game better after playing such a long series. Maybe Harden always underperforms in Game 7s because by that point, the defense has sort of already figured him out. When you think about it, his game is pretty simple. He sticks to what he does. If he gets you in an isolation, it's a step back, and any other time he comes off of a pick, he's trying to distribute the ball. Only problem is that the Nuggets aren't a good team defensively. Jokic is too slow to guard anybody and basically escorts you to a wide open layup. If you think about it, Harden is lucky he didn't make it out of the first round. Imagine him facing OKC after all this. That's a much better defensive-minded team that could have caused a lot of problems for him. Don't just take my word for it. Everybody knows that OKC is a team you don't want to have to go against on offense.
Let me tell you this right now. Check this out, Ocho. OKC's NBA rankings in defense and hustle categories. Defensive efficiency, number 1. Field goal percentage defense, number 1. 3-point percentage defense, number 1. Steals per game, number 1. Turnovers forced per game, number 1. Points off turnovers, number 1. Deflections per game, number 1. Loose balls recovered per game, number 1. Charges drawn per game, number 1.
As you can see, the Thunder had the stats backing them up as a good defense, and they even passed the eye test. They have a lot of length on the perimeter, and Chet Holmgren is a great rim protector. They would have caused some significant issues for Harden, but can we just keep saying that Harden is only losing because the teams are just better? Or is it that Harden is competing against completely beatable teams, and it's all his fault? I think it's a mix of both. You gotta remember when he was on the Rockets, he was facing the Warriors every year in the playoffs, so of course he's not going to be able to beat them, but I don't think people are going to look back and say that he only lost in the postseason because he was a real good player but the other teams were just stacked. No, they're going to remember him as a playoff no-show. But what do you think? Who else besides James Harden has been a letdown in the playoffs? Tell me in the comment section below. Until next time, peace.